gotta work hard in silence. You gotta work when nobody's watching. You gotta sacrifice behind the scenes. When you take it personal, your private life changes.
Success is a process. The process comes before success.
For drama. Just look at social media on any given day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I stoke it a lot of times, but
who you know, never. I remember it was probably a year or two ago, and those crazy Ashby guys were commenting on something and shared one of your videos to they were having a conniption over the discussion of heavy arrows versus light arrows versus this versus that, and
right.
you went to town on one post. I don't remember what it was. Oh my gosh, it was funny. It was actually funny to read it if you read it with any relatively open mind.
Yeah.
And it was just, oh, it was funny.
It's
You're not afraid to engage people, that's for sure.
It's always some sawed off little some bitch that frickin's got an opinion on, and it's so funny that probably the same guy now, Joel Maxfield just kind of turned him, and so now he's on our side instead of Ashby and the freaking but it's just these are guys with no expertise at all. They don't have any archery expertise. Their claim to fame is shooting freaking animals in a Texas zoo, basically, and so they think they're authorities, and it's like, dude, you want some authorities? I know some people that are massive authorities. I mean, I deal with a lot, and I know plenty, and you all think I can do anything because I got a long draw length, but you want opposite end of the spectrum? I'll give it to you. I got all kinds of people I can draw from. I got a guy on my staff's killed 200, and I usually he's killed 400 water buffalo with a bow. You think he knows? You think he knows a little bit about penetration?
That's insane.
Yeah. He's just got kill permits in Australia, and he shoots them for the villages and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done it all with a 475 to 520 grain arrow.
Yeah.
Key is a two-blade broadhead.
Right. Yeah. Right. Broadhead and a little bit of arrow placement goes a long way.
Shot placement. Imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They act like the only place anybody misses anything is in the shoulder.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
That's the whole bullshit freaking argument for fixed blades,
The plan B, it's for broadheads. They're like, oh, you have to shoot 750 grains out of Midwest whitetail just in case.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And your arrow goes 200.
Or you're unethical. The one thing that really trips me off is when they say you're unethical.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Or it's not ethical.
Yeah.
Ignorant. They don't know they don't know how to do anything really. But if you get in the realm of people that actually compete and hunt, nobody follows that. Not one single person I know. They might go a little bit heavier because honestly, a lot of them guys are not the smartest either. When it comes to that, they're just going off somebody's recommendation, but they also understand the value of speed in the equation.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's that. Yeah, I laugh at some of the guys that ride the Ranch Ferry wave, and I've heard him talk. He was on I think he was on Aaron's podcast, and I was like, the guy was he's just out there. I've never met him in my life. I don't really care.
He's just spouting off what frickin' Ashby said, and Ashby killed everything at 15 yards over water hole, and recurves and compounds are two different animals. They're not one's not even remotely in the same efficiency level as the other. And Joel Maxfield's done a very good job of showcasing that and really putting together some good tests. And you can't refute it. Oh, they will. Block target's that's not a real consistent medium. Bullshit. It's more consistent than anything you can freaking shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying shooting animals is consistent?
So hitting them in a non-bony area versus
that's not even it. I shot a 2 Tuesday deer in Mexico 3 years ago, and one of them blew through. We never found it, and the other one poked out this far the other side because he was moving so hard on it. I probably clipped his shoulder as he moved or something. Yeah. I don't overthink shit like that. I just don't. I mean, it's like, whatever, he's dead. The reason I shoot rear deploy mechanicals is because on the way in, I'm cutting a massive hole. and I don't really care
sense.
about the other hole because I got blood pouring out the other hole,
Yeah.
and they're not going to make it very far with that sucking chest wound anyway. And
Right.
Kyle shot that thorn broadhead down in Texas and didn't get all the way through on one, and he's all like been out of shape. I was like, watch that deer spin and roll. It's crazy. They're moving. You have to factor that in. You know, if you take a target and you swing it and you shoot it, you're not going to get near the penetration.
Yeah.
Depends if it was swinging towards you when it hit or if it was swinging away. Two
Right.
different. Yeah, you know. So
What broadhead do you shoot?
I shoot thorn glue ends.
I'll have to look those up.
They basically their most accurate broadhead on the planet. They solve all the problems of broadheads, right? You can tune with the broadhead, you can sight in with the broadhead, and they glue in the end of a 166 shaft so you don't have any of the weak insert of all 166 shafts. You know, and we built a titanium insert this year for the 166, and yeah, they're tough, but they're $56 a dozen at volume dealer price.
That's really
so that's
good.
$100 a dozen.
Yeah, that's
Freaking insert. And the people buying that shit probably can't outshoot a freaking pro hunter. You know what I mean?
Funny. Yeah, you're
Or,
right.
you know, if I'm going to an internal component system, if I'm going to a screw and broadhead, I'm going to an airstrike. I'm going to a 204 because I think it's a better solution. But the only reason I shoot thorns for hunting is or pierce for hunting is because I have that glue and thorn option.
Right.
You know,
I have to look at those.
I'm not shooting weak insert systems that hang this much out in front of the freaking arrow. I mean, that's just crazy. If you think that that's strong in any sense of the way, imagination, I don't care if it's made out of titanium. It's not strong.
Right.
Stronger, but it's not strong. Well, the thorn broadhead, see, these guys come out with this broadhead, and I saw it in a magazine, and I called them, and turns out one of the guys that works for him shoots archery, and he knew me, and so they sent me some, and I was just going to buy them because I shot kill zones, and to me, it was just a kill zone with the blade folded under the ferrule, and they got a pin through it. And I just threw some ideas at him when he come by the trade show. I said, you should make this in a glue-in model and make it take our weights in the back of it so guys can weight it up. It's surgical. I mean, it would be surgical, and it is. I'm shooting groups like this at 140 yards.
Well, that's unethical, Tim.
One of the big differences, one of the massive differences for hunting is that I can run a very small vein that is quiet.
With that broadhead, yeah. You
can't do that with other broadheads because you have blade surface that has to be controlled.
Right.
And people overlook that aspect of it. I mean, you want experts, man. I got a guy named Steve Cobreen that, dude, this guy's an animal. He's killed more SCI world records with a bow than anybody in history. And he's killed 60 species with a bow that no other white guy has. He really follows that SCI stuff. And he's kind of this quintessential British explorer mentality. He's about my age and about my height. And he just loves long range shooting and just a really full life guy, you know.
I laugh at the guys, the compound guys who talk about shooting anything over 40 yards is unethical. And then I say to them, like, how come in the compound world over 40 yards you guys say is unethical, but I know guys with recurves that shoot that far.
Right.
And the level of accuracy with a recurve versus but in the trad world, they don't give a shit. They'll fling an arrow at anything, but it's all of a sudden you put a wheels on the bow and everybody's like God's gift to.
It's because people are just dragging everybody else down to their level of mediocrity.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
We shoot
ahead.
dots like this at 80 yards, but somehow we can't shoot broadheads.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, a target. It's easy for a target archer to have that conversation though. These guys that their claim to fame is, you know, they shot 170-inch buck, or they, you know, got lucky, paid for a hunt, shot a big elk, whatever, and they shot it at 15 yards. They shot it at 20 yards. They don't understand the concept of you stand there and shoot 72 arrows on a dot that's this big, you know, or damn near close. It's the same thing. We're doing the same thing. You know, and then they're like, oh, but it's an animal. It's an animal. Like, it doesn't matter. It's the same shot. We have the control to do it.
They just can't even conceptualize it.
And they can't because they don't have the ability to.
There's one outfit that's pretty popular. They're on YouTube. What the hell's their name? They're like from the Midwest sponsorship, and I'm like, so you don't think you should shoot past 30 yards? I'm like, I don't think we're going to be a very good fit.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are not experts. You might be decent at teaching people hunting technique, but you're not.
They're real good hunters. Like they can get close and shoot animals. So I got to give them, like, I'll give them that credit. They do a very good job at documenting how they hunt. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
They're not experts. They're not people you want promoting your product.
No. Yeah, I could agree with that.
It's like women archers versus men archers, right?
Yeah.
They're not as valuable simply because very few of them, Paige is the exception.
Sure.
Very few of them even work on their own bows, don't know anything about them.
Yep.
Who the hell is going to buy anything off their recommendation?
Yeah.
So if you're only shoot deer at 30 yards, I can teach a monkey to do that in freaking half a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So why would I ever take the recommendation from a guy like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Well, I see that in the Barebow side of things, man. And nothing, I'm not going to say a negative thing about Jake Kaminsky, but people watch his YouTube page, and just because he's got popularity, and every single post online, all I see is people, oh, Jake Kaminsky, Barebow. I'm like, the dude doesn't even shoot Barebow. He made like a half a dozen videos, and these people think that he's like a whatever. I'm like, I don't care what you guys say. John Demmer is literally the encyclopedia when it comes to what not to do and why and how to fix it, because he's screwed it all up and fixed it all himself. They don't listen.
I shot league last night at Barebow League with Kevin Jensen. He came and shot.
Nice guy. Nice guy.
He kicked our ass last night. I beat him last night.
He's gotten a lot better in the last couple of years.
Yeah, he's got a good shot. He didn't. I don't think he shot but 1 or 2 5s the whole night.
Yeah, it's tough.
Shot like 36 targets.
You 3D. Yeah, you can shoot. I mean, you take a decent target barebow shooter. They can light up some impressive scores on 3D targets, because as long as you can judge distance, if you have to judge distance, as long as you can, I mean, hitting a 10 ring is
right.
Really not that hard. That's keeping it in the 8. You know what I mean? And
he shot a 400 last night on, what do we shoot? 14 times 3, so 42 targets.
That's good. Oh yeah, that's real good.
I mean, I started out like a house of fire, man. I was hitting 12s. I hit so many freaking 12s. It's stupid. And then I just got weak, and I was not getting off the string good and flipping my fingers a couple times, and just the bow was kind of manhandling me. And
you were shooting barebow then?
Yeah.
You're messing around with it? What do you shoot?
I'm shooting this weekend at a tournament, barebow.
All right. What bow are you shooting?
I have a Hoyt with a 29-inch or 27-inch riser.
So exceed 27? They don't, and they're probably not going to.
It's a 27.
27 with extra long limbs is what you should be shooting, if that's not what you're shooting.
38 pounds, shooting full length 500, 32-inch 500s with 100 grain points. I'm going to put some pins and biter asymmetricals in today, because it needs sniffing just slightly. And I think those asymmetricals.
500 grain or 500 spine or 600 spine? Oh, you're shooting only 3D. I'm talking about shooting target.
Well, I'll just string walk down to my middle finger and go pound it up, pound.
I don't want to have a big crawl. I want a little crawl. The smallest crawl I can get is better off I am.
I mean,
for a fixed distance. For a fixed distance.
I tuned to the 20-yard crawl.
Yeah. Are you gap shooting then? Are you gap shooting, or are you crawling for every distance? Combination of both.
I kind of put the pin where I want and look where I want to hit. Or I put the point where it's supposed to go. More and more I'm trying to gap shoot. I mean, or point on string walk.
Yeah.
It's more reliable.
Yeah.
I used to shoot instinctively. I was damn good instinctive out to 30, 40 yards.
You can be. Yeah, you 100% can be, but you're not going to.
You got to shoot a lot.
Yeah, you're not going to catch a guy that's a string walker and an aimer that can hit, a golf ball from 15 to 30 yards. You're not going to catch him instinctively. But you can shoot freaking hella good instinctively, for sure. There's no question.
I used to shoot instinctive, and I could stand at 20 yards with this old Ben Pearson felt riser bow with 2 split limbs, and I could freaking Shoot 24s and 25s all day long on a single spot. Instinctive.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe
Kind of
it.
a split, it was kind of a split vision, but I shoot hours.
You have to shoot hours with that style. You have to shoot a shit ton of arrows and get them all to go.
My
Figure out
buddy
the
I
thing.
shoot with all the time. He still shoots split finger gap. I don't know how the hell he does it. His gap's got to be a mile away. So worldwide, how many people shoot barebow?
A lot. There's a lot.
10,000?
Oh, it's more. I think it's gonna be more than that. Worldwide, Jesus. Malaysia is having the Asian National Barebow Championship is this weekend. There's 500 barebow shooters at that one tournament.
Oh,
Huge. I just got a bunch of the guys. There's like a half a dozen of them at this tournament.
If you can get me some stats on the amount of barebow shooters in the world, it would help me try to build the case to build some more barebow tailored arrows.
I could probably do that. I have
I don't think anybody really knows.
last year. So listen, last year I put together what was called the Barebow scoring matrix. It was an international. It showed all of the top 20 barebow shooters in every country, and I put all of their scores side by side. Pulled the Italians, the Swedes, the French, the English, ours, and I think the Malaysia, whatever their tournament was. And you'd be surprised at what those numbers are, and they're just growing. I think it was Greg that was like, that said to me at one point, "Oh, Barebow's going to slow down. They're not, you got."
I don't think so. You know why?
I don't think so either.
We're fun.
Yeah.
Compound is not exciting because compound is a game of never. They basically at a world stage created a game in compound that is so mentally taxing that it's not fun.
Yeah.
There's no room for error, and that's not fun.
Yeah.
And they keep doubling down on it.
Yeah. 100%.
Now the new Olympic round is going to be indoor to 18 meter. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, that's not fun. That's stupid. I don't know who made that decision. I don't know why, but
Rio seems pretty happy with it. But that's the problem. You get one-dimensional archery, and they're not good. They're not good at anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You got me thinking about too, just to bring up that subject, the whole string thing with compound, the string contact. Wouldn't that work also for barebow?
Oh yeah,
the same way?
Except I couldn't get a bow long enough to make it happen.
You couldn't. I mean, do you have extra long limbs on that 27?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's as close as you're gonna get. That bow should fit you
I
pretty
can
well.
get a Gilo riser, but like a 29-inch Gilo.
They do, but you can run it and try it. You can get one.
I don't want to shoot any slower than I'm shooting right now. I mean, I'm probably pulling 42 pounds, and that 500 can't wait.
Riser on the way. That's got barebow in mind. Let's just put it that way. And there should be a 27 coming from that. I really don't think you're going to see a 29 out of Hoyt, though. It's not worth the skew number.
Yeah, I mean, most people, unless you have over a 30-inch draw, there's really no point.
Yeah. Well, and I have a 30.5-inch draw, and I think I probably borderline 31. And
I just got to figure out. Well, I always like to wear a Damascus glove. I do not like tabs, and because they smack the dog shit out of my nose. I have those, but it smacks the dog shit out of my nose when I use them things.
Well, it's probably because you get closer to your face and your anchor. Where do you anchor at? Where are you anchored? That's why, because you're so high. Well, you have middle finger, corner of the mouth, or you just anchored on the side of your face?
Well, it depends how far I'm shooting. I'll be doing a few here this weekend.
So your face okay. So your face
Well, I'll do both. I mean, out to point on with my finger against the string, which is probably 38 to 40 yards.
Yeah.
Out to 40 yards, then I will just string walk. And after 40, then I'll have to drop my anchor and build another set of gaps from 40 to 70.
Oh, so you're shooting like a safari type distances, or you're shooting from the compound stake shooting barebow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no We don't candy coat shit out here for barebow shooters.
Well,
But we shoot the guys here. They have a pretty good few guys that shoot field with barebow. They shoot out
Yeah.
to 80.
well, I mean, if you what's your point on distance then? Like up against the knock, point on at your normal anchor. What's your point on distance?
Probably 38.
Okay. So you're shooting pretty heavy. Because like my point on distance for outdoor target, which is what I would shoot for field and or a safari type setup, is probably 50 yards.
Well, that has everything to do with the angle of approach too. You know, if you how
Yeah.
short your arrows are, how long your arrows are.
Yep. Right.
Everything.
So, but I'm saying like if it's because then that allows you the ability to just string walk, which is a hell of a lot more accurate than face walking, is what I'm getting at. Instead of messing around with the both, just simplify it.
Even if it's really long, I'll split finger and go. I don't care.
Oh, I know you can. You
Plus, I
can.
mean,
I'm just saying
I
for
got one target
consistency
at-
purposes, though.
I have one target at 67 yards at this tournament that it's usually a moose or you just want to not miss it.
Yeah.
You know, and if you can
Yeah.
get an 8 or a 10, it's a big bonus. But usually in order to reach that distance, I don't know. I ain't played with it yet. I haven't shot this light a setup yet either. So
Yeah. Well, the lighter the poundage you can get away with, the easier the
plus
target
I have
frame
four
is to
fletch
deal with.
feathers on them. So
Yeah, that's not doing you any favors at 60.
but they're only little. They're 3-inch feathers. They're tiny.
All right. Still doesn't do you any favors though.
They might
But-
not even be. They're not even that long. I don't think they may be the 2-inchers. Yeah, they're not doing me any favors. No,
Yeah.
but I don't
Yeah.
care. I'm not doing this crap religiously.
Yeah, you're
When
just doing it for fun. Yeah, I get it.
I do it.
I
once
would try. This is what I would do. I would try a tab. Tab is 100% more repeatable than a glove. I would try a tab, and I would change your anchor, go to one anchor, and then set your setup up so you can get from 60 to 15 yards or whatever just by crawling.
I can't. It's
How can you?
impossible.
How can you not go to 20 yards with a crawl and just gap if anything's shorter? Because of the arrows.
Yeah, I can't get an arrow long enough.
We'll make one.
No. It's
Or
not that easy.
add weight to it.
It's not that easy. You have to go buy new mandrels.
Got ya.
You
That's-
guys think, I'll just make it.
For
Got some 40
for
inchers in
field,
there.
for example, for field,
I got
we're
some
running
40
we're,
inchers
we're
in there.
running a short arrow, and just have a big ass crawl. Like my crawl for the peeps and field is the full length of this tab. I'm all the way down here.
Yeah, but see, I notice when I get below my 20-yard crawl, I can't make a 15-yard crawl. I can't make a 10-yard. I just aim low. It just
That's
like
fine.
it
Yeah, that's
jacks up,
fine.
must jack up the tune so much that
It does, yeah. You're right. But we don't have a ton of shots at that distance. Everything's between 20 and
my biggest
50.
problem is flipping my freaking fingers and hanging my finger left or right. So
Yeah.
I just run a powder pad and a Damascus glove right now. Just
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're having fun with it, man. It's fun. That's Barebow's a shit ton of fun. I don't care what
got a
anybody
lot
says.
of good shooters around here, so one year I won this shoot we're going to and the next weekend because we shoot out to 80 and man, I beat them both and they were just all butt hurt.
You're one of the few compound shooters that of the pro ranks that will put out there that, hey, you're doing shooting drills or aiming drills or doing this stuff. And that intrigued the crap out of me because we advocate for a lot on the Barebow side that I play around with. So I wanted to ask you specifically, what was that drill? And I was hoping I could get a picture of it. Maybe I could go grab a picture of it quick off of the video and share it and describe exactly what you were doing and any other shooting drills or
You want me to
training.
go grab it?
Let's see that wonderful target. Oh my gosh, you hammered the crap out of it. So explain to me what you're doing there with that target, Tim, and what's the goal that you're looking for?
Well, this particular target, 3D sights and 3D targets breed a different aiming psychology. Okay. So there's a lot of psychology in aiming. Okay. So not everybody likes the same thing. What you use for 20-yard indoor, you're not going to be using for 3D because it's not going to allow you to aim fine enough. So that brings out its own issues. Like a lot of people complain when you go to a 3D tournament, they got the practice bags out there and they're white. Well, they got a little 15 or 10 thou fiber that they use on 3D and they can't even see it.
Right.
No matter how high they turn the power of their light up, they can't even see it. And so what I do is I always want to shoot something darker like this that I can actually see my pin on. If you notice here on the top, I was shooting a pin bow last night. So I made 5 of these dots a little bigger because it doesn't do me any good if I can't see my dot and the pin. Okay.
Right.
So there's sighting in is one thing, but then practicing for the type of shot that you're going to have to make in the competition are 2 different animals. Okay. So,
right.
What I found is that number one, I sight in on lines. So lines give you a more precise sight in. So if you'll take your time and sight in on lines, I always do short, long, and when I get my sight tape built for it from Archer's Advantage, then I always check the middle marks. So if I'm doing 20 to 80, then 55, I'll check it. I have 55 right out the back door of my shop. So I shoot 50 meters right out the back door all the time. So it allows me to do testing out into the wind. So at 50 yards, I'll be shooting, or 55, I'll shoot a dot about this big, inch and a half across. And I think if I can hit that dot every time, that's equating to the type of shot that I need to make a 12 ring shot at 50 yards and in. So
sure.
And it tells me a lot of things, I mean, I've had setups where, once you've shot at a certain level, what you're looking for. Okay. And you're always continuing to tweak things to try to find that, whether it's in the aim of the bow, the stabilizers. Sometimes it can be a freaking launcher change. I made a launcher change one time because I had too flexible of a launcher, and it was like night and day. And it went from like, these bigger dots, it went from just hitting the edge of it to just bop, bop, bop. I mean, it hit exactly where the pin was every time. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to hit where the pin was. Okay. But here, I can do this same drill indoors when it gets dark, right? And once you get more holes built up around here, then you have to glass it with your binoculars. You have to kind of pick a spot, just like you would on a 3D shoot.
Sure.
Maybe you got this little, S-shaped pattern here, and you got to shoot the center of the S on the right side. So it gives you this kind of, all right, I'm going to shoot an inch low right of that freaking vein. And that's something that I struggle with too, is aiming around veins. I get a lot more, jumpy around it. Veins. It's funny. There's little things in the target that you see, like if a guy shoots an arrow in and the shaft goes up like this and you can aim at the base of the shaft. That's like one of the most comfortable things there is to aim at. But you put the fletching around it and it's just like it's drawing you in and drawing you out. And it's so sometimes, I have to practice aiming at that fletching or whatever's going to draw my attention. And the shoot off at the last shoot off in Folia, I had a black buck at like 50 yards, and actually it was 49 yards and or 48.8, I think my rangefinder said. And I thought, man, it's gonna be hard to like really stay on the 12 there. The light's kind of flat inside, so you can't see like you can outside. And my 7 power Verde Plus is pretty dang good. I can see most of the 12s, but I thought I'm not gonna be able to see that. But there was a perfect arrow hole in the white, like this far below it. So I thought, okay, I'm just gonna add a yard. I shot for 50 yards and aim right at that hole because my attention and focus is drawn to that hole. And it's no different even with like your barebow guy. I mean, we had this standing bear we were shooting last night, and every one of us kept shooting it low in the guts. I said, okay, the next time I'm just going to shoot a 2 yard less gap, and I'm going to aim at this little. They had the number. It had like a number 11 or 13 like paper on the front, and it was right between the 10 and the 8. So it was like the middle of the 8 ring. I said, I'll fall right into it. Ended up shooting this far over the 10 that time. But just I do that stuff all the time because your mind is going to be drawn to certain things. And this is just a very effective way to practice. And if you can't keep your arrows just on this line at 20 yards, there's some things that you need to do. I've had setups where, I could literally split this line every single time at 20 yards. Now I have to be shooting pretty good. My aim's got to be slow. I'm 53, almost 54. So now I've got to factor in, am I just getting old?
Yeah, vision, stuff like that.
My vision's actually pretty good. I had a lens transplant in my right eye.
Oh, nice.
I was struggling last night in that barebow league trying to see the end of my
your arrow.
White. It was just like really glary light in there. And I thought one of the guys mentioned, Kevin actually mentioned it. They used to chalk their points the
I've
old
heard
time
that.
Barebow guys.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, because then it dulls it out and allows you to be able to kind of focus on a little bit better. But
Yeah.
there's always kind of tricks. You got to be really a self-intuitive person if you want to be a good archer. The best archers in this game are self-taught.
Yeah.
I'm just here to tell you that. It's if you, I heard a comment a coach made one time. My job is to teach these guys until they're good enough to teach themselves. And I think that's a really good
Agreed.
way of thinking about it. You need the basics, I think a lot of times in FIDA and indoor archery, I think there's too much focus on mental and shot. And that is a massive part of the game. Don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
I know that I can usually help shooters a lot of the times just with their equipment setups. I think a lot of times they just shoot it, well, don't work that way. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
When you deal with guys like Kyle and Paige, these guys they're doing stuff that's very hard to articulate to the general public.
Sure.
It's hard enough to tell a guy to, one of the big things we talked about with this new Bowtech bow was on the adjustable holding weight module. And I'm actually shocked that they went for it, because it was such a massive deal to me. And I sat there and showed the engineers, and one of my staff shooters actually had showed me that. He's been doing it since the Fanatic, and he's a hell of a shooter. Jason Goykin. He won Vegas in the amateur. I call him the head sandbagger, but because he's good enough to shoot pro. But I don't know. He's a great guy. He's a smart guy, and he come up with this. And man, it's one of the biggest godsends I ever had somebody show me. And so when we talking about it, putting it into this new bow, it was like, look, you need to help us make the system teachable. Okay, I can teach people how to adjust their holding weight 1 pound at a time with this system. Whereas if I had to do it, say, with a Matthews TRX, how the hell am I going to do that? Yeah. You got a 5% module. So let's do the math. What's 5% of 70? 3.5 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So the module is going to give you a 3.5 pound jump. Well, that's a massive difference. Yeah. So how do you fill in that gap? Okay. Anytime we shorten the draw length, that's the way the most people do it. They short peg the cam. Well, you just jack the draw length up. So how do I get my draw length back and keep the holding weight up? And so that's the great thing about the module change. It really doesn't do a lot with the, with the draw length. So it's helping to make systems teachable is a big part of it. So, but yeah, this is just a good drill. This is pretty shot up now. I'm probably going to go out and make another one. It's really good when you get it like, I don't know, when you get a hole kind of like this, or, you get one, something like this, where you start to lose, the holes start to look like like the dot. So I made these a little bit bigger because I was shooting a 19th thou pin, and my eye with this new surgery does not like pin sights very well. So I shoot a scope way better than I do a pin sight. Pin sights, if I turn the light up too bright, it halos around it, and that really shows up on a 3D target. So
what are you shooting?
A clarifier. See, a clarifier kind of washes that halo away a little bit. Okay. So it helps get rid of some of that halo. So I actually see, like, man, I put a 7-power with a Hamsky C clarifier, and I can see the pin as crystal as I've never seen it that clear in my life, because there's now a focus ring in my lens that the muscles in the eye don't have to do the focusing anymore. So I got like a 30-inch, focus ring. So
that's intriguing.
As you Barebow guys, you could get like a focus ring put in for your arrow length.
I'll tell you, man, listen, my eyes in the last 2 years have gone to hell in a handbasket. And when I shoot, I have to put tape over my left lens. And it's not because my left eye takes over. It's because I see 2 arrows this way. So the one on the left is like translucent. The one on the right is more solid. Both of them are blurry. And the one on the left, occasionally I'll aim with the one on the left. If I try to shoot both eyes open, nothing blocking out the left eye. So I'll shoot a group, bang, bang, bang down the middle. And then the next time I'll aim with the left one and I'll hit to the right in like the middle of the 8. I can't seem to bring it together. And I don't want to shoot with both. I don't want to shoot with one closed. I want to have both eyes open just for, balance purposes. And
I never have, honestly. I mean, I've heard that from guys, balance. You got better balance with both eyes open. When I shoot pins, I do.
It makes me panicky. It makes me panicky with Barebow. So I feel like it makes me more panicky.
What, one eye open?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I just kind of like, everybody says my left eye just kind of twitches, just that goes like this and this.
Yeah.
And
So
this.
it doesn't actually fully close. Well, you no, wait, don't you use a blinder, don't you?
No, I don't use a blinder.
Okay. I thought I remember you having, is that not for your eye? That's just like I've seen it
Randy
on.
Ulmer did for years. He would put a piece of tape on his left lens
Yeah.
of his glasses. But
It just it could be placebo, could be just personal preference, whatever. That's fine. But yeah, I mean, but the idea, like if I could clear up the arrow and the target with Barebow, it would take so much guessing game out of the aim. You know what I mean? Like if as long as everything's clear all the time, but when something's a little bit fuzzy, man, definitely.
Yeah. The aim's the easy part. It's the letting go that sucks.
Yeah, that's true. It's
causes most of the misses.
Well, what happens is people don't. We're off topic, but that's fine.
Yeah.
People, the letting go is the target panic that takes over. We can go and aim all day long, but then when we have to incorporate the letting go part, and that's as a coach, and I've been relatively successful as a barebow coach. We have to stop worrying about letting go and just put the damn thing in the middle and leave it there. Just leave it there. It'll go. Consciously leave it there. It'll go when it goes.
Except 90% of barebow guys look like the bow's kicking their ass. So, well, I mean, no, they're like this. They're like,
oh yeah. Well, and that's so to me, in my opinion, from like that is a sign of their target panic. They shake because either they're shooting too much weight.
yeah.
Let me explain. Everybody responds to it differently in many ways in the barebow world. Whether there can be nice and solid here, but that bow arm, you'll see it come up or come down, gets to the middle, and they just blow out of it. And some people will put it there in the middle and they'll hold, but they're fighting. They don't know what to do here, and they just start shaking because they can't make the connection of, we'll just stay there. And when your subconscious takes over,
it's exactly like me and Kyle and Jimmy Lutz shoot a compound, right? So, or Mike Sloss,
yeah.
Light picture fires a shot. Okay. So you do everything else and you learn this stuff, your fundamentals and stuff, but you can't be thinking on it. You can't be focusing on it, you know, because that creates your focus in the wrong spot. Okay. Your focus has to be on follow through. Okay. In one of the great books that I've read, and I bring it up all the time, is David Power's High Power Rifle. Okay. And it's a rifle shooting book, but what it talks about in there is the importance of position, how to build a position, the fact that you don't have a position unless you can articulate it, and how they use their position to cancel out motion. But in the back of the book, he talks about his mental program, and it was kind of ironic. He has 3 stages to his mental program, but he said, you know, one's the initial setup, one's the intermediate setup, and then the third one is your focus at the shot. And you never once you're out of the other one, you never let the other one in. Okay.
Yeah.
So you never let those 3 areas actually creep into each other. I've been to see Lanny Basham. Lanny's kind of really pretty adamant about the fact that he can't believe that so many people should have surprise release in archery. And he said, you think we didn't deal with anticipation in rifle shooting? He said, we did. We just didn't give people careers on it. We talk about it all the time. We fear it, you know, and so there we get more of it. But I attribute 90% of the fact that people shoot surprise shots in archery to the fact that our targets are so flippin' easy.
Yeah.
They're big bullseyes. You know, rifle shooters had to shoot a pencil eraser at 50 meters. Okay. You can't hold on that, but you can damn sure fire on it. That's why you can't beat a good puncher on a good day, because he's firing dead center every time.
Yeah. Right. No, I think there's some absolute validity to that. I think one of the differences between rifle, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert rifle shooter or anything, but just a common sense approach, in my opinion, the difference between archery and rifle is in archery, you're under a physical duress holding the bow at full draw. So I think that has an effect on where the way that your mind and body, and I'll tell you where this comes from for me. I did Olympic weightlifting for about 7 years. And the one thing that I learned is that when you are under duress, like when I'm holding 250 pounds over my head, I'm in the bottom of a squat. If I'm not in the right position, my body says, get the hell out of here, because this is not where you should be. But when you're in the right place, you can stand up with that weight, no problem. Just drop it on the floor and the lift is over. And I always applied that same, right or wrong, that same approach to archery. When I'm at full draw with 60 pounds on my fingers on a whitetail, I need to be in that right position to be able to aim it correctly and for the bow to do its job correctly. And if I'm not, my body says, oh, hell no, ding. And I just want to let go of it because it's my body screaming
Well,
at
it's
me.
because your aim is what's dictating the anticipation. So
Oh, there's
like
part of that too, for sure.
even in rifle shooting, if you look at the top rifle and air rifle shooters, positional guys, they're all position. It's all about position, how they get into the position, how they wrap their sling, how they tension their body. Hell, in the book, he talks about like he would cant his chin over into the gun, and then he would basically modify the gun to where his scope mounts were sitting 15 degrees off the side, so he could tip the gun and the scope would be straight up and down. It's because it would just lock everything in. It's no different than me, like for example, when I shoot a wrist strap. One of the reasons I hate watching guys that are just really open like this, they're just really open. To me, that's just like loose.
Sure.
I got to have contact. So I love that thumb hook behind the neck. I love crushing into my face. When I'm on a handheld, you watch Chris Schaff, he shoots up the side of his face. And I think a lot of it has to do with that welding of these two units together. You know, it's position, right? Stabilization is about position. And, you know, fine tuning of draw length is about building a position that cancels motion, right? And when you get to the top level of archers, you start to see, you know, you guys at the lower end talking inches of draw length and half inches, and we talking a twist on the bus cable, you know?
Yep. Yeah, no,
You have to have the tools to measure that. It's like I'm on the message with a guy this morning, and he's like, well, how do I figure my speed? I'm like, well, you can figure 3 grains is 1 foot a second or 2.5 pound or 2.5 foot a second per pound or something like that. But he did the math all wrong backwards. But I said, I use a chronograph. They're 120 freaking dollars. Okay.
Go buy one.
Powell chronograph, Amazon, Competition Electronics, best chronograph made for archery there is. Don't waste your money on a Caldwell. They're junk. You know, it's a tool. You have to have tools. You have to have a draw board. You at least. I use a shooting machine to do my stretching in, but I use it to get my final draw lengths because I have collars on it. So when I draw it back, my draw length stroke to grip is to the end of the loop is exactly the same every time. Okay, so if I got 5 bows to build and I've developed this anchor point shot routine, you know, then I want to be able to duplicate that. And there's lots of little things, man. I shoot this leather wrist strap, and if I get it real sweaty, the next morning it's shrunk up a bit, and I got to stretch it back out, you know. And so there's all kinds of little things that I'm always torn back and forth between the handheld to the wrist strap, primarily because of that reason. But the problem with the wrist strap, the handheld is you have a lot of tension built up in your forearm all the time. With a wrist strap, I can hook into my neck and everything's just blah. All right. I don't know if you've ever seen the elbow harness one I built. The elbows
actually.
Greater. But the problem you run into is when you get back in a position of strength like a recurve shooter, right?
Yeah.
You know, get that body back around. You can shoot like this all day long if you want, but you're using muscle. And you're also, you know, you're hurting your shoulders. You're going to get injured. You're going to get your left shoulder injured because you're popping that freaking, you know, your shoulder joints are not perfectly square. So they have to have a lot of muscle support around them, from what I understand. Because I'm having issues with mine, and I went over and got what is it called? They spin your plasma and pump it into your shoulder.
An MRI?
No, they didn't do an MRI. She did an exam on my rotator, said they look pretty good, but
you're having issues anyways.
It's
Which
all
shoulder?
the same.
Both or one?
All the pain in the body is caused by inflammation.
Yeah.
So these shots of like your own blood into your plasma and stuff into your shoulders, I guess, kind of restarts your body's ability to fight. That is what they're. Same thing was like stem cells.
Okay. Yeah, I get the concept.
Kind of the most aggressive side of that treatment.
I don't know if I've ever heard of anyone getting that before.
I don't know, because it's hard to find any like objective opinions on it. I
Interesting.
read something the other day that's pretty interesting, and I really want to try. Is you ever heard of grounding yourself?
Explain. Maybe.
There's this guy back in the 60s. He was like, he got this idea that if he grounded him, and I don't remember where he got the idea from, but Earth has a magnetic field, right?
Yeah.
Its own like electricity. When we build a house, we do a ground rod out in the ground, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what he got the idea to do is ground himself. So he put this piece of like aluminum tape across his bed at night, and he brought it out to a ground rod in the ground, and he said it was amazing. He said he always had to take ibuprofen to go to bed because he couldn't sleep, and it just kills all that inflammation. So it got to a final level. When they were in the beginning, he couldn't find any information on it. Went to all these high-end universities and stuff. And finally, he got a couple professors and scientists to kind of do some really legitimate studies on it. And it's pretty interesting what it does at a cellular level and what it does for inflammation.
We're going to end up diving down another podcast, diving down all kinds of crazy rabbit holes.
I always say, if you ain't trying, you're dying, right?